Here's a really good tip on when you are on the road to self-love and self-care. If you feel in a relationship any of these following things, if you get a sense like you're trying to control it, you're trying to manipulate, to maneuver it, you're forcing a relationship to work, you likely are. And it's not aligned, it's not jiving, it's not working. That doesn't mean, for an example, if you're married or divorced, okay, pack up your bags and out the door. That is, I believe, a very personal choice that only you can decide what is right for you. Even if, and this is my disclaimer, even if it is toxic, even if you're really not happy, even if everybody around you can see the writing on the wall that the relationship is just not working, unless there is abuse of emotional abuse and violence, I would never ever tell somebody that they need to leave that relationship. And for a couple of reasons, and I'll give you a personal story. One of my past relationships, a couple of them, and I've learned lots of lessons from them, is the writing was on the wall. It just wasn't working. It wasn't good for my well-being. It wasn't good for their well-being. One relationship, we were very toxic for each other to the point where it became not only emotional abuse and that form, it also became physically violent. And if I had stayed in that relationship, the end result would have been we would have lost our lives. And that. Or most likely that would have definitely happened because it would have just escalated and pushed to that. And I can honestly say it would have pushed to the point of either I would have ended this person's life out of my own saving my own life, and most likely out of guilt and upset and everything, I would have taken my own life. And on the flip side, the relationship definitely could have pushed this person to the point where they would have taken my life and most likely anybody that was in the vicinity. And I am being very careful with my words on who else could have, because I do not want to out past relationships due to, people involved and everything like that. And I'm not blaming this person. And that there's no blame in there. There's responsibility on both sides, because I do firmly believe, and I am saying a disclaimer, that in a lot of physical, violent relationships, if we're being really, really honest, it takes two people. And what I mean by that is it takes the person attacking and going after the other person. It also takes the other person that they missed the warning signs, or they've seen them and they second guess them. There was red flags. Somewhere in the relationship, there was things going on that both parties didn't either acknowledge, notice, maybe didn't have the words, didn't have the knowledge to understand it, didn't realize how this could become so serious. And they either allowed the behavior, they contributed to the behavior, and in a lot of disputes, domestic relationships, as crazy as it sounds, and we'll just say for women, the women they're walking on eggshells, and it really messes with, your mindset and your belief systems and everything. A lot of times you will create and provoke them to beat you, because afterwards there's that honeymoon period, and for maybe a couple of days, a couple of weeks, you can kind of breathe and go, okay, everything's good. I know nothing's going to happen in the next, few days, few weeks. And then you start prepping for that, oh, they're going to blow moment. So I'm not talking about any of those types of relationships. that's when somebody should step in and help or offer, and that. But still, this is what I mean by it's a personal choice. When we think that we're helping the other people by pointing out and telling them you need to leave and you need, as soon as we start telling somebody what they need to do, a lot of times they will go on the defensive, or they'll second guess, or it'll make it harder for them to choose for themselves. Now, let's say you're saying all the right things. You're pointing out everything. You brought an awareness to them. There's a difference from bringing an awareness, asking them questions, letting them self-discover what is best for them so they can decide and choose. And this is a huge thing, because when we tell people what to do, or we bring awareness and then we tell them what to do, and they haven't really chosen, they're like, yeah, you're right, this is not working. It all makes sense. They're going to choose to step out of that relationship. When we tell them what to do, they don't actually choose it for themselves. They step out, and it's going to be hard. Sometimes there's hard moments. Not the whole time, but there's hard moments. There's things to deal with. There's a grief process, all of those things. When they come through that on the other side, if they've chosen to do it, they can get through those challenges a little easier. When they've been told what to do and then they kind of do it, they didn't 100% take ownership, one. They didn't 100% choose it. So when they're going through the hard moments, it's harder for them to get through the grief process, harder for them to learn the lessons that they needed to learn, harder for them to take 100% ownership in their part, so they don't attract that same type of person and have those experiences. They need to self-discover and choose. So, saying that, in relationships, people are going to resist when you're growing. They're going to, ask you what you're doing and make certain comments. Some people might joke around with you and that. Give them the grace and compassion just to be who they are and keep going. Honor yourself. Figure out what you need and don't take things personally. And with that, I'm holding the space on your beautiful pathway of self-discovery, self-love, and self-compassion and self-care, because you matter. Here's a really good tip.